Welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil, and I'm practicing daily and sharing tips so that we can all do better at the craps table. Today we're talking about one of my favorite books, Talent is Overrated, written by Jeff Colvin. And I wanted to talk about why this book was so important to me, how it led me to be a better craps player, and we're going to discuss the details on it. We're going to go over what his theories are and how he talked to many athletes, talk about how he was talking about what made those athletes better, and then conclusion, what did we do about it, and what can all of us do when it comes to throwing dice better. So I'm going to be finishing up my practice today while I'm talking to you. So Jeff Colvin put out a book a number of years ago, Talent is Overrated. And his book was basically my mantra moving forward. Why did I start craps? I said my boss taught me craps in Vegas when we were out there at a conference. I had never played before, and I'm not a gambler. I don't like to lose money. I hate to lose money. I almost insist on not losing money. So why did I go to craps? Well, like I said, one of my best friends said he was dibbling and dabbling around with control throwing, and he said, do you know what that is? And I didn't. So I looked it up, and it was a way of controlling the dice a little bit each time and changing the odds. So we talked about these in some older videos. And so at the same time, about a month later, I was at another meeting where somebody did a book report on Jeff Colvin's Talent is Overrated. And it was a 5-minute presentation. And they talked about what his book was about. And I'm going to go over it with you and how that affected me for the rest of my life. So his discussion was, we talk about Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours of practice. Well, he takes it to a step further. He was actually saying 10,000 hours of practice is well and good, but if you're not doing the right type of practice, or you're not having mentors, or you're not having coaches, is it doing you any good? So I was fascinated at this book report when the guy was talking to us about it, and it was really brief. They handed us out a book. I went home and read it immediately, and I was fascinated. He talks about key athletes in the world, and I'm not going to blow up his whole book so that you have an opportunity to purchase it and read for yourself and dive in. I'm just going to sum it up real quick. But he talked about some key athletes and what made them separate them from everybody else. And some of the conclusions were fascinating. Whether it was Jerry Rice, a wide receiver, he was normally not a very dominant athlete in high school. He was okay in college, but what made him to be the leading wide receiver in the NFL? He talks about Tiger Woods. What kind of, is it talent? Is he naturally gifted? Is Jerry Rice naturally gifted? Or is there something else that made them who they are? Well, it turns out Tiger Woods was given clubs, as Jeff talks about in his book, at an early age. His dad was a good golfer, but he was also a coach. And his goal was to get Tiger to be the best he could be in golf. So the fact that, was Tiger really a talented, talented golfer? Or was he a person that practiced, had coaching and mentoring to get him to that next level? Now, Jeff will talk about this quite a bit. You can't be a gymnast, he says, if you're 6'5". So there's some physical attributes that you can't do. But in general, what his book is saying is you don't have to be super talented in any one particular activity to make yourself better at it. You can be one of the better, if not best, at anything you do if you do the right things. So he talked about a study that another gentleman did about violins in Europe, and they were talking about kids that were practicing, some with limited practice, some with a little more practice, and some with ultimate practice. All basically the same type of talent. And over the course of the time, when you read the book, they'll talk about how the ones that had deliberate practice with coaching and practiced longer were all better than the one that was just practicing for a half hour a day. So I really suggest you take a look at this book. It's fascinating on how it made me do this. It gave me incentive and said, I can't play video games very well. I don't have very good hand-eye coordination. And I'm not very good at gambling. And I was fascinated that this book made me think about this for a second. Can I take something that I know nothing about? I don't know how to control throw. Can I practice this activity? It seems a very simple activity, even though 100 videos later, when I'm done, it's going to seem more complicated. But can I just do this little activity? Can I practice it deliberately? Can I get a muscle memory going? Can I go take classes from some wonderful coaches? Can I get some people that can look at my videos or look at me and mentor me when I'm doing something wrong, making adjustments over the years? And can I learn to fix myself so that I'll know when I throw what is a good throw and what is a bad throw? So, when Jeff Colvin talks about what your body is doing, it's developing a relationship with the brain synapse to your muscles, whether it's your large muscle mass or your little muscle. It's forming this synapse to remember that every time. And if you practice it more and more, your body just develops this natural flow. So he talked about deliberate practice. So once again, I did a video a few ago about golfing. What's the difference from a person that goes to a driving range and just hits a bucket of balls a week and maybe plays twice a week, maybe has a coach, to a person that's a pro like Tiger Woods that sits there every day, lives, breathes, and creates his success through practice, practice, practice. And deliberate practice can't just be going out and playing craps. It can't just go out and doing this once or twice a day and just doing it a little bit at a time and just playing. That's not what deliberate practice. It almost has to be painful. It almost has to hurt you. Getting up at 4:30 in the morning before work and working out my memory, my warm-ups, my alt throws, then my end of the day throws, and then looking at that and analyzing it, self-analyzing, self-mentoring, and saying, today I've been throwing to the left, so my hands are off. I have to practice that tomorrow to make sure they're throwing straight on. So those are deliberate practices. So when I finished up that book, Talent is Overrated, and I had that craps, it all came in together into one fell swoop. And I said, okay, I get it. Let me test Jeff Colvin's theory. Let me deliberate practice. Let me get coaching. Let me get mentoring. Let me build my muscle memory. Let me get those brain synapses going. And let me see how I can do it. So what did I do? I decided, as a follow-up for that book report that we did at work, I was going to get a table, my little practice table. I was going to, on Labor Day, 15 years ago, Labor Day, I threw 360 times over the course of a week. I marked it all down. Then that was what my starting rate was. Then I started practicing. I started working on my synapses, and that I practiced every day, 365 days. Then next Labor Day, I threw for a week, threw 360 again, and I marked down how I did. So I'm going to discuss that in future videos on how talent is overrated, how it affected my life, and what it did for me to make this everything that I do each and every day. My morning routines and afternoon routines are the same. I have deliberate practice. Sometimes I don't want to do it and I get stressed out. Sometimes I throw for weeks and I'm off and I'm not good and I have to get somebody to help me and mentor me. I have to go take another seminar so I can get some tweaks and corrections just so that I can throw better. But the conclusion is, with this talent is overrated, is I truly believe, I am a believer that anyone, even somebody who can't do hand-to-eye coordination, not very talented, not a good gambler, can do this. If you practice and if you actually want to make money in the casinos. So remember, all different betting strategies aside, the best strategy for winning at craps is to throw for a long time.